At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Conn Report wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I have a story up now on Jaden Daniels getting his first win. Hopefully you've read that by now. Regardless, it's up on ESPN.com. So a couple reminders here. I will be doing a live stream at 7:30 Eastern time on Tuesday night, hopefully joined by Nikki Javala from the Washington Post. To be honest, it depends if her son, Julian, allows that to happen. If he does, she will be there and we'll be on there for about a half hour or so. So anyways, join us there. So regardless, I'll be there. So 7:30 Eastern time, Tuesday night with that. And I'll be doing another private Zoom for you Gold members. Chances are it's going to be Thursday night again. I will announce it again tomorrow or Wednesday morning, but look for that likely Thursday night. Got a lot of stuff going on Thursday because Thursday is kind of like a regular Wednesday, so you never know what time you're going to get home. But I would tentatively say for 7:30 Thursday night. So you Gold members, you get that again, and hopefully you've been having fun with those because it's good 30 to 40 minutes of getting your questions answered. If you want to become a member, now go to on your laptop, go to the Empire Media YouTube page, see the word join, click on there, go from there. Anyway, let's get to what's going on with these film reviews. And as you know, I can't post video. If you see people posting video on social media, they're really not supposed to. So if they're doing it, they're really kind of breaking the rules. And so I'm not going to do that. I work for ESPN, not allowed to do that. So anyways, that's why I posted still shots in here. I know we'd all prefer video, but that's my little disclaimer. And every time I don't say that disclaimer, I hear back, why don't you use video? I'd rather have video. Well, so would I. So there you go. Pipe down. You get the still shots. You still get the analysis. And, hopefully that's good enough. So anyways, let's get to it. So a couple of things from Dan Quinn's press conference on Monday. One I'll start with, and this is not the biggest thing, but it was a question that gets asked, is why was Jamin Davis inactive? Well, because Johnny Newton was coming back and was on a quote unquote pitch count, they figured to be limited to about 12 to 15 snaps. Then they wanted to have an extra defensive tackle available. That's why Davis was inactive. Now, I don't know how long that will continue, and I don't know, to be honest, what kind of impact that really had, but that's why it was. I felt like Davis did a nice job in the first game, showed a couple of things, especially against the run, really has shown a nice job using some quickness to get the inside. So we'll see if that continues. But anyways, for those who are wondering, that's why that was the case. And he was asked about the false starts. Some of that comes down to discipline, of course. I mean, a lot of that comes down to this discipline. Some of that too comes from they're running that hurry up a lot, and they hit a big play downfield. They're going to get to the line of scrimmage, and they want to keep teams in and regulate the defense. That's why they do that. But what also happens is you have Daniels checking to a play, and then because of that, sometimes that messes guys up. So, you get that check and it's a check, but they may go, whatever. Discipline. I've told you they had some issues with false starts during training camp. Like you'd see flags get thrown that you think, did defense go offsides? No, it was a false start that, sometimes it was a hard count and they would jump, and that's what happened. So they have to be a lot better there. But that's partly the explanation there. And Quinn liked the defensive communication in the secondary. The results are different, but the communication was good. So they have that going for them. By the way, with all this film stuff, I'm not getting into the defense tonight. It's almost 9:30 as I'm taping this, and had to finish a big project story that's going to run on Monday on Jaden Daniels. So didn't really have time to dig in the defense. I will be digging that on Tuesday and talking about that throughout the week, just things that you see, et cetera. So Anyways, the other thing that Quinn talked about was he felt like he said he felt Zach Ertz's presence. And I'm going to agree with that big time. And I'll get to that more in a minute, because I do definitely think it was more than just in the pass game as well. So hint, hint. On Jaden Daniels, love this poise, how cool he is in the pocket. And I agree. Like, you look at some of these rookies around the league, he just looks better. And I'm not surprised, because I think this is who he's going to be, right? And I think there's a lot of reasons for this team and for the fan base to be excited about what he's shown in 2 games. Yes, there are things that he can do better. And I'm going to get into some of those, because it's all about the growth potential. Where can he get better? What's he doing well now? Where can you start to see, okay, is he going to do this? When is he going to do this? So I think that would be the exciting part if you're in the organization, if you're a fan, that there are things that he's doing really well. He's not turning the ball over, and he has room for growth. Like, you look around the league, what do you think he'd do with Chicago's talent around him? And you see the struggles by Bo Nix. Like, this kid's not struggling like that. Like, they're throwing a lot at him, and there's sometimes he's going to make some mistakes, but he's still making plays. I mean, they had 425 yards of total offense, only 21 points, has to be better, red zone issues, but 425 total yards. I say points, total yards. And that is, all right. So so as I'm talking this, I have my Guardians game on TV right here on my phone, and I'll show it to you, because they just hit a 2-run homer in the bottom of the 8th to take the lead over the Twins. So that's a big deal. So I apologize for diverting my attention there, but that's what happened. So that's a big home run. So anyways, feel pretty good about that. So anyway, let's get back to Jaden Daniels. One thing that Quinn talked about, and I'm going to get into this, he wants him to stay a dual threat quarterback. And there's one primary example of that really could have been a huge play that, as he gets better, as he's more comfortable running up when to throw, when to keep his eyes up, when not to, et cetera, he's going to find this. And I think he'll be fine with that, because I think what you saw with him at LSU and throughout his college career, there was a progression. And yes, what he got to in his last year at LSU was he was, you talked to like his offensive coordinator from LSU, as I did, that it was, before it was like 1-2, then run. Now it's like 1-2, 3-4. Now you're going to run. I think he's, so my point is he got to that in college as well. You have to go through a progression. You don't just come in, oh, now I'm reading everything, now I'm just going to do it. You're starting over in a new league, in a much higher league. And so that's where things are at. But that's where, but I'm going to show you one play in particular, a couple other things too, but it's about keeping the play alive. And we've talked about this, and we're going to talk about it and it's not to harp on the negative with him, because that's not what this is. And there's a lot of positive, but what it is say like, so this is part of the growth process. How are we seeing that this week? And it's going to change every week. And sometimes it depends on if you're playing man. Sometimes if you're playing zone, like the Giants did a lot of, that's probably a better time to keep it alive, because they have eyes on you, and it's just a lot harder to find some of the gaps to run. Man defense, man coverage, sometimes you're just going to take off because you see like, hey, I've got 30 yards right here if I run, because I know I can get there. So anyways, but it's why they are excited. The other thing that Quinn talked about was Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louva. He felt their presence, especially Louva, was very physical. And again, I haven't rewatched the defense enough. We know that there are problems, there are some issues, and we'll get into all that. And but I don't feel like the linebacker play has been the problem. Yes, there's a couple plays that you could play better. I saw plays that Luke Kuechly could have played better, for God's sake. So they all have that. Not that, so my point is, I'm going to withhold a lot of that, but I think there are some other issues that are going on with the run game, et cetera, but that has to get better. Anyway, but he did like what he saw from Wagner and Louva.
TD. Tutty, taking it to the house. Whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KEIM, that's code KEIM, K-E-I-M, for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
I'm going to start with the run game tonight. I'm going to go over the run game. I'm going to go over some of Jaden Daniels stuff, right? So I'm going to start with the run game because I thought, I feel like that's starting to create an identity, right? That's how you get it. Now, when I asked Quinn about them, and he felt like they were good on some runs, right? And so some, especially the short yardage. But I feel like there's good potential there. And I like some of the design of the runs. And so I think, can they continue? I like, there's a lot to like with where I think the run game can get to, especially as they incorporate, they had a couple plays where they had Eckler and Robinson on the field at the same time, made a big difference on the 4th and 1. And also Jaden Daniels' presence within the run game and how that can hold and control part of the defense. And then just some of the action up front. You got that going on in the backfield. Then you have a jet action. You got a tight end, pulling a different way or coming across formation backed, so just taking defenders out of play. That's pretty good. So the first run they had was a 7-yard gain by Brian Robinson. Use jet action. So on the jet action, safety shifts aside. It allows Biadasz to then get inside, and basically safety has shift, but he comes up inside, and Biadasz then gets an angle on him. And then because of Jaden Daniels, Okereke, the linebacker, has to pause. That opens up an alley for Brian Robinson. That's what you want. On the 4th and 1, this is where one of the plays I really like, because on the play you have Eckler is lined up behind Jaden Daniels, and Eckler's behind Jaden Daniels, and then you have Robinson to the right. So on the play, Kayvon Thibodeau is coming at the quarterback on this play, and then you have Eckler running out to the left, and you see 2 defenders go with him. So in fact, I put up a picture of that play as we're talking. So that's 2 defenders go with him. That creates a lane for Robinson to hit. So you're going to get the first down. Then he runs through the defender, picks up 6 yards after contact for a really nice, 5 yards after contact. I think it was a 6-yard gain, but just a nice design. And having the threat of those 2 back there, really it's a threat of 3 runners back there because you have to honor the quarterback. That's why Thibodeau goes at him. Then the linebacker and the safety go with Eckler as he goes to the outside. They have to honor that as well. So you have multiple things you have to be concerned about, and it results in a good pickup on a 4th down and 1. I like how Eckler's running. He makes guys miss. Now, there are a couple of times I thought like there were some cuts I thought, well, it's a second guessing. And not having ever played running back in the NFL, you have to make quick decisions. But a couple of times you see like some guys, this is what's, you get 4 yards. Oh man, if you would just cut here, now you have 6 to 10. He got 4 yards. So you're moving the chains, you're staying ahead of the chains. But what he does do is he makes guys miss. And I said this the other day, he feels like he's slaloming a little bit when he's going because it's just hip movement, right? And he got Okereke on one run on, I think it was on the draw that he had down like the 13-yard gain. I think it was on 3rd and 14 or something like that, where he just makes guys miss. And that's a good skill. But that tells me that his ankles are feeling pretty good, which they were not last year, because you didn't see those cuts after he came back from his ankle injury last year, but you're seeing them now, and they're doing them in tight spaces, and that's a good thing for them to see. And they should feel good about where he's at. With Brian Robinson, the other thing is the yards after contact. So right now, he is 3rd in the NFL after 2 games, averaging 3.07 yards after contact. That's really good. Now, you're going to chuckle at this because this week he was 2nd in the NFL with 4.59 yards after contact. That's really good. You know who was first? Antonio Gibson with the Patriots. He had over 7 yards after first contact the other day, and that obviously is really good. Good to see him doing that. I always liked Antonio. Anyway, so there are good things going on in the run game. A couple of things. This is kind of tied into the red zone. Oh, this is from the 20, technically 19 and in, whatever, if you want to consider the 20, but it's the jet sweep to Zacchaeus that Daniels bobbles a snap. Man, was that play there. It was there. So if he gets it, I think that was like a second and, I can't remember what it was. Oh man, he's going to get a first down. The next play was a sack. So that was a second down, third down, there's a sack. He picks up the first down easily. If the ball, listen, I'll take that mistake. It's a bad mistake, but he's not going to bobble the snap. This is not something you learn from. It's just like, hey, stuff happens, right? But the point of it is the design, everything looked really good. And the timing of it was good. And Zacchaeus had it. If you get around the corner, you have blockers, you make a guy miss, maybe you get pretty far down inside the 10, right? So there's a lot of really good things with that, but it was just an unfortunate happenstance in a play because it was there. And again, just it's a bobbled snap. It happens. On the 32-yard run by Robinson, I kind of talked about this after the game, but Thibodeau hesitates because of Jaden Daniels. And then you have Allegretti and Cosme pulling on the play. Good vision by Brian Robinson. Nice run. Let's see. I thought one of the guys that I really liked in the run game was Zach Ertz. I felt like he had a couple of nice blocks in the run game. And that's where you see like he's contributing. Like this guy is what they hope for so far. And that's been good to see. That's why when Quinn says he felt his presence, that's partly what he's talking about. I mean, clearly you felt it in the pass game, but I felt like it was there in the run game too. He had a couple of times he got Okereke on a block where he's coming out of the backfield. So just a good job by Ertz. Good job by the tight ends in general, especially with Bates. Now, there was one play where Bates missed the block, and this is the 2nd-6 run by Robinson around the left side. But the big culprit was Terry McLaurin, could not hold his block. On that same play, Zacchaeus blocks down on the defensive end. Oh, no, excuse me. It was either an end or a linebacker, but man, did he fight his ass off on that one, and he did a nice job. But McLaurin, he's been a little bit inconsistent with his blocks. Very willing blocker, just inconsistent. But on this one, just missed. His guy makes a stop. If he makes his block or just holds the block a little bit, then Robinson, it's 2nd down and 6, probably gets at least 4 or 5 yards, gets 2 instead. So sets up a 3rd and 4, which is manageable, but it could have been 3rd down and 2 or 1. The linebacker's coming over, probably makes a stop, but he's coming from a side angle, so you never know. But the bottom line is it didn't matter because the other block was missed. And then on the the other one was the 14-yard run by Jaden Daniels. I really like this call because it was set. I mean, it was just well timed because they have been handed off. And so on this play, Thibodeau, the ends had done a really good job, especially Brian Burns played that zone read really well, stayed very square to the line, really impressed by how he played the zone read. Thibodeau on this one just crashes inside. He doesn't square up. He's turned to the back, just crashes on there. And Daniels and the rest of the gang say, thank you very much, because it opens up the outside. You have Ertz pulling around the end. This is the play where then Daniels ends up going out of bounds, which they didn't want him to do, but he gets the first down. But it's hard because he kind of gets pinched. And if you go down inbound, like he had to get outside to do it. And then you just lose your balance as you're going down the sideline because it was kind of tight. But a nice play, and I think they just fooled the Giants in that one. Ertz with a good job pulling around the end. So there you go. So anyway, let's get to Jaden Daniels, and we'll go from here for a little bit. So a lot of things to like with him. Quick decisions. I felt for the most part, I felt like that was a good job. I like the game plan for him against this defense. You knew that they were going to be able to pressure with that front. With those ends, they're really good. There were a couple times they got Wiley on some spin moves. I know we're going to say that. I felt like Wiley did a nice job overall in the run game. So balance that out when you're watching him, because that's part of what they're going to do, and I think that's going to become a good identity for this group. Then with a couple of times that Coleman allowed some pressure, And there was one time in particular, I'm not sure exactly what happened on the play, because it was a blitz and he gets beat inside, but you can't tell, was he expecting help or not? Or, because the blitzer starts to come, did he know that was coming? I think there's still more to learn on that play. So but I do think that there's some things, like a difference to me between he and Lucas right now. There are a couple of times where Lucas kind of looked the same with his footwork, where he looks like he's getting beat around the end, but his length is better and he's able to recover because of that length and push a guy away. And not that Coleman doesn't have, his arms are good, have good length. It's just that Lucas is taller. So therefore his height plus his long arms gives him a better wingspan and better length overall. And that's where, he was able to recover a couple of times because of that. So anyways, and I think Coleman has good attitude in the run game. I think that's worth watching and seeing how he develops with that. But anyway, but I did like the game plan overall for that. They're going to play a lot of zone. They're going to force you to be smart with it and just to be patient with it. And I felt like Daniels was like, I like that he's got some patience and a little bit, it's funny because I say caution, but when I look at caution, I remember when Jason Campbell was here, and I always liked Jason, but there were times where I felt like he was too cautious with the ball. You're not going to take any chances. I don't think Daniels is like that, right? I think he's being smart with the ball. And I think in this game, there were a couple of shots that he could have gotten down the field, but they weren't giving that really. They're going to force you to go underneath. And with those ends, you want to get rid of the ball quick. So, and the other thing is with those screens, I felt like they were setting up one play in particular. And then when they got to that play, the Giants did a nice job defending. And it was just but Daniels did a good job playing off that for a play. So I'm going to get to that in a minute. So anyways, like the legs. Oh, by the way, I also like some of the use of motion. I'm not going to get too deep into the motion, but there were a couple of times where I felt like the motion has a purpose. And when they use that motion, I think it's effective. And you can see guys getting moved a little bit and creating opportunities of space to help blockers get better angles, et cetera. I felt like when the Shanahans were here with especially with the zone read and all that, I felt like that was a good thing that they did as well. But I like how Daniels uses his leg, and that's obvious, right? But there's sometimes it's those. So there was the play. If you remember the play, it was like 2nd down and 8, and it was second down and 7. They're around the 40-yard line, 35-yard line. On the play, he gets 41 comes through unblocked on a blitz. They did not expect him to blitz, not at all. The Giants blitz more than they showed the previous week, which I don't blame them. I think other teams will do this as well until, if you get hurt by it, then you're going to stop. But the Giants did it, and sometimes it definitely worked. On this play, it worked because 41 comes through, has Daniels. It's 10, 12, 13-yard loss on the play. If you tackle him, but he gets out of the tackle, he loses 3 yards on the play. It could have been at least 10 yards, possibly 15. You get down now 3rd and 20 or 3rd and 22, let's say. Now you have to try and hopefully get back into field goal range, but no guarantee. And that play saves a drive because the next play, it was 3rd and 12, and that's where Daniels they pick up 11 yards, and then they pick up and they keep the drive going. And I think that's where Eckler picked it up or got down there, but they extended the drive, kick a short field goal. He doesn't get those yards. He doesn't get out of that sack. That drive very well could result in a punt. That's a big play. So a sack, but a huge play because his legs saved nothing he could have done otherwise. They fooled him with the blitz. It happens. The kid made a play. The young man made a play. Anyway, so I think that was good. There was another time where, if you remember, there was a little screen to De'Ami Brown and inside, basically a tunnel screen. What I like on this play is that they tapped into his athleticism, and it was a really good job by him because, they're not cutting the end. So if you're not cutting the end and you're just going to plant and throw, well, he's going to be in position to jump and just knock that ball down. He's taking away your vision. But on this play, you have Daniel sprint, basically a sprint to the right, half sprint to the right. So the end has to honor as if he's going to run, whips the ball to De'Ami, goes inside. It creates angles for him. but because of just a nice play by Daniels on that, the way they executed it, I liked how they're able to use his athleticism on that play, plus his accuracy on the throw. So, but it prevents the defensive end, I think, from being a bigger factor in defending that play. And it was, so they end up with, I think it was like 12 yards on that play, but a good job there. Couple of times in the red zone, the other thing the Giants were doing, there are at least 3 or 4 times where the Giants would rush 3 and spy on Daniels. That definitely happened a few times. So, I think I'd say get used to that. But, if you're going to do that, it should help the rush. Now, a couple of times it did not, because right tackle got beat or somebody or something, and it just allowed some pressure. But I think it's going to be an effective tool down there. So if you can withstand that, then he should give you some time to find guys, in theory. So also there was, I think it was the 3rd and 4, the play I told you about. There was the play where basically it was going to fake the screen, little pump, and you want to get the guy coming off that, going down the sideline, fake the block, go down the sideline, boom, you got him, touchdown, right? Well, it didn't happen because the Giants covered it. Smart. So what I like on this play is he quickly gets off that and he gets to Zach Ertz for 21 yards. So, you pump, you see it, you boom, now you're off. And it was 21 yards. And if you wait a little bit, because on that play that's Coleman gets beat, then it could be, could be disaster, but it wasn't, because he made it quick. It was quick, boom, boom, boom. And that was 21 yards, big play, extended drive. Like, there are so many plays where you say, like, you're a half yard away from possibly disaster, and they avoided it. And that's where I think that's why they won this game, because that's how they get 7 field goals. There was also another time, 3rd down and 8, he gets it to Zach Ertz. If you remember, keeps his eyes up on the, I'm sorry, that was the one to play. That was the 3rd and 8. That was the one to Zach Ertz where he got it to him quickly. The other time was a 3rd down where he sprints, roll out, feels the pressure because Coleman gets beat, and then keeps his eyes upfield, gets it to Ertz for that game. But the other one was another game to Ertz where fake the screen, get up to Ertz, and there you go. So yeah, I mean, that's all good stuff. So but there are sometimes, like in the red zone, for example, where I think the other thing he's going to learn to do is when to throw it away. Because there was a 2nd down, I think 2nd down 9, 2nd down 8 in the red zone, where, I think he makes some good decisions. He doesn't force the ball. He protects the points very well down in the red zone. I like that. But you also want to protect the series too, right? So there's one time it's like 2nd down and 8, and he, doesn't have anything, has to get out of the pocket, gets to the right. And instead of just throwing it away because you had that chance, he tries to maybe turn and he just gets sacked. So he loses 5 yards. So now you're in 3rd and long. And now basically the drive is killed. So that was one of the things that happened down there too. But again, you learn that stuff. Like, I think the one thing he has to learn too is, listen, he's used to running away from guys. He's used to being able to extend for a long time. It takes a minute to get used to know, when can I do this in the NFL and when can I not? Growth process. Again, 425 yards of offense with him still learning the game and him making plays in the meantime. So feel good about that. There were a couple times, like, shoot, he could have been hit. He was, almost hit as he threw, like the 15-yarder to Noah Brown, inches from being hit, and maybe a strip sack. Like, your arm's here, the defender's there, and you get hit. And then, like, even on the throw to Zach Ertz, if you remember the one that he has to basically jump up for the ball and kind of wrestles it away from the defender. Well, it floats like that because he can't step into the throw because he's getting hit, but he gets rid of the ball to do so. And it's funny because sometimes on that was a first half play. And on that one, it felt like maybe does he get to his drop a little bit too quickly? I don't know, because it wasn't like guys were ready for the, he was going to Ertz on that play. And he had to get to that drop step and kind of hitch. But bottom line is, gets the ball out, not as much on it because you get hit as you throw, because the tackle is getting beat around the edge, but you do get it there because you were ready to throw and all that. So that's, again, another thing. And so, I think, like I said, I'll get to some other things in a minute. The other play that he he threw it, but this is a design play. They had the little middle screen to Austin Eckler for 27 yards. If you remember the play, the Giants rush 4. You have Eckler out of the backfield, runs to the right, and that Okereke, the linebacker, is in the middle. He comes over with Eckler because he thinks he's going outside. Eckler cuts back inside where you now have multiple blockers, get it to him, 27 yards. Nice design on that play. So a couple things that I think now this is where he's going to have to keep working, and that's on just keeping the play alive. So I'm not going to go over all these because there are only a couple of times where this really happens, but there's one in particular where it was really, really pronounced. And that was the 3rd and 14 where he picks up the first, or he gets 13 yards or picks up the first down in the run. If you remember right, where he gets hit and they pick it up, he gets the wind knocked out of him, that play. So on that play, he runs up the middle. Well, he's up the middle, so you still have both sides available to you, but he kind of looks to the right, but the ball's down. Breaking wide open to the other side is Luke McCaffrey. I know that this is a play that they have talked about because, and it's an example, again, growth. This is why, like you say, okay, we want you to keep the play alive. Here's what can happen when you do this. Now he picks up the first down and he does get hit. So so you still get 14 yards. Other guys may have gotten 6 on that play. He gets 14. So kudos to him for that. But this is where they want him to get to. And this is where, again, if you're a fan, watch his growth in this area because he's going to get there. I feel really confident about that. But it's where we at. It's little baby steps now, and this is one of them. And so keep your eyes up, keep the ball alive. They're harping on that for sure. Again, it's not a criticism. Some people get very thin-skinned about that. It's not a criticism. It's a part of the growth process. But when you see it, it's there. And McCaffrey maybe even scores a touchdown on this play if you hit him in stride. So, but it's just, again, all the lessons to learn. This is why you play. And this is why, in the old days, back however many years ago, you can work some of this stuff out in a preseason game because you're playing a quarter, a half, maybe into the 3rd quarter. Now they play so little that you're now learning on the fly in the regular season. And even in those, I love the joint practices, but you're not getting this and that either. It really, you're just not. You need game action, and that's what he needs. But he's still better than the other rookie quarterbacks, and I think that's why you should feel pretty good. And then there's one other play where it's a veteran thing. The more experience you get, I think it's like the first swing pass to Brian Robinson on the play, you have the backside dig to De'Ami Brown. That becomes available. But my sense is that the design play is to go to Robinson on the swing pass. You set it up, or you've got the hitch to Terry McLaurin on the same side as Robinson, right? So I think on that one, my guess is going to be he did exactly what he was supposed to do. But I do think as you get more experience, you're going to see like, okay, that dig is there. So I'm just going to stay over here because the dig's there. The safety on that side is coming on the blitz. Once you see that, you can now get to that guy because Brown's open. But I do think like, hey, you're a rookie. You're going to make the right play, and the right play for, he did what it sounds like he did what he was supposed to. If I find out different, I'll let you know. But I just think that's one where you say the more experience you get, the more likely this guy is going to make that bigger play. And I think that's, like I said, that's a good place for you to be because he's making plays while still learning the game. I mean, and the kid's got a lot of poise, man. Like there's a lot to really like about what Jaden Daniels does. So anyways, they're excited about him, and this is why. And while it's not like they're, the issues are not all on, by far not on him. There's so many things that can be improved with this offense, but I think there's reason to feel like, hey, this could go in the right direction with this particular side of the ball. Other side of the ball, we don't know. But this side of the ball, I think you can feel pretty good about where it can get to, whether it's this year, next year, or whatever. Once you start to build the talent base around him, around the offense, any offense, right, that you need to make it work. And so, anyway, there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, join me Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern time, hopefully joined by Nikki Jabala. Always appreciate you tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.